All right, in this video, we're going to look at some of the new leaks that we got for the new cards coming to the game in September. We've got Mobile Gamer with us. Thanks for joining, bud. How you doing?
Hello there. How's it going?
Good, good, good. So we've got the Loki / September 2023 season pass. They also threw something in here. It looks like I hadn't seen this before, but Man Thing. We don't know what it's going to do. I'm not going to spend any time on there. Interesting card coming to the game, 4/6. So hopefully it's as good as White Queen. And then we've got these cards for September 2023. The season pass card being Loki. On reveal, replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck. Give them -1 cost. What is your initial impression of this card?
All right, two things is how does the card actually work? And I think we're going to operate on an assumption is that, you know, you have 5 cards in your hand, you play this on turn 3, let's say, and then you get 5 random cards of the 12, assuming they're not playing Thanos, let's say, of their deck. Now, if that's the way to work, this card just doesn't seem obviously good. Random cards are random cards. Do you want that? You know, what is your opponent playing? Oh, my opponent's playing Cerebro Zero.
Ew, that's gross.
Oh, do I want that to happen? I don't know that this is obviously good. We've identified some cards that should have a high amount of synergy. Collector, Quinjet, Maria Hill, you know, Agent 13. So Quinjet right here, you know, is obviously going to create some synergy with Loki, reducing the cost minimum of 1, which might be a good thing. You know, if your opponent has a strong hand, and then you're going to be able to play multiple cards. And then Collector, you know, let's say you get 5 cards. It could be 4 cards, it could be 3 cards, but then that'll give points directly to Collector. And then just the idea of having a full hand, but putting out points early in the match. You know, Agent 13, Maria Hill, Sentinel will keep cards in your hand so that when you do play Loki, you're going to get as many cards as possible. We will see. I actually have no idea. Like, I feel like it seems super random. I would have to play it, but for me, this Loki card isn't obviously good. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that was my initial take on this, is that it just... I think of the Weird World location where you play your opponent's deck, and I hate that location. It drives me nuts. I want to play the deck that I've got, and not knowing what my opponent's going to have, that sort of hurts. So, I mean, yes, I love reduced cost. I think that's great, but I don't know. I mean, maybe if it guaranteed me all 7 cards, and then that way I know I've got multiple cards. I also would like it to maybe be a little bit more reduced cost for 5 and 6 cost cards, but that's getting greedy. If it was something like that where 5 and 6s were -2 cost, okay, now we're talking. You know what I mean?
Quinjet will do that for you, right?
True. I mean, so you get a 5 and it's like then 4, then with Quinjet it's 3. So you get a 3 cost there on turn 4 on a 5 maybe. But again, what if that 5 cost card is something that you have no interest in playing? It's a Taskmaster and it's copying Loki. You know, it's like, okay, well, that doesn't do me any good. But yeah, so at the surface value, and we talked about this all the time, the value in the season pass is not necessarily the new card. You get so much from the season pass. So is it a big deal that this is a bad season pass? I don't know. Where would you rank this compared to the other season pass cards that you've seen?
It's really hard to say how good this card's going to be. It's not obviously good. Let's say like Hitmonkey or Nebula, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you looked at other cards like Nimrod and Phoenix and Ghost Spider, we thought, well, maybe that will be the missing card to make a particular archetype viable, which may or may not happen. This is in another category. Like, I don't feel like this is going to be like a plug and play card. You're going to have to build a deck around it. And I'm not even sure if that new archetype that this is creating is going to work. I have no idea. It feels very random. We'd have to see.
Yeah, I agree. Now, what about this next card, Eliath? How are you feeling? I'm going to let you talk about this one. We've talked about this one in the video you did. Check out Mobile's channel. Check out that video. Like and subscribe as always. But what are your thoughts on Eliath?
Yeah, so here's the thing is like when you first look at it, it's like, oh, we're going to use this in a destroy deck with like null. You don't have to. This card played on turn 6 can be bonkers. So like we were talking about this a little bit already on the video we just shot. You know, let's say you play Daredevil early in the game, and then on turn 5 you play this could be good on turn 5 with Daredevil, right? Or you play Professor X, lock out a lane, and then as long as you are not losing by more than 4 points, you win the second lane with this card, right?
Yep.
because like it's gonna explode. This is not Teenage Warhead at all. Like, you know, if your opponent has 6 points and you have 2 points, you play this on that lane, whatever they play there gets exploded, and then you have 7 points. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds absolutely awesome.
I totally agree. I mean, we'll get to the next 2 cards, which are both strong. I think this is my favorite card for the month of September. You could fit this in so many places. Control, destroy, whatever you, I mean, shoot, you could play it with bounce. You mentioned Kitty in the other video, and you playing this with Kitty. Okay. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Yeah. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, because like if Kitty can make, oh yeah, Kitty, that you're guaranteed to win one lane, and then Kitty takes the other lane. Oh my God, right?
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of this one. We'll see how it shakes out. Next card on here, Mobius M. Mobius. It's an ongoing. Your costs can't be increased. Your opponent's costs can't be reduced. This is a very interesting card to me. We talked about Iceman, Dream Dimension on turn 5, which can be annoying. But the bigger strong point to this card in my mind is your opponent's costs can't be reduced. Talk about bounce a little bit here. This could even go in your bounce cost. And what's the big card in your mind that this is going to combat?
Okay, so there's a couple things. You could run wave, or your opponent could be playing wave, and this absolutely could be to your advantage, right?
Yep.
It's one thing to counter your opponent's deck. Like I think it's obvious that this will counter cards like Zabu and Sarah, right? Which is kind of a big deal, and Beast, right? But if you can use this card to your advantage with wave, holy moly, you play wave and your opponent is stuck only playing one card, but you don't have that restriction, you know, where you can play your 6-drop for 4 and then still play your 2 1-drops, or your whole bounce, play your whole bounce deck, you know, all of your Hitmonkey and Mysterio and all that stuff. That seems pretty good to me.
That's right.
If it works with wave, that sounds amazing. Now I will have to see, right? Some of this stuff, you know, like wave may not work that way because cost reduction doesn't work on wave, right?
You know
Apparently, I don't know how this is going to work at all.
That's a good point. So yeah, because they talked about wave being the overriding factor of basically everything, right? So
maybe
I don't know, Mobius versus wave, we'll see. But it's well, I'll ask your opinion on which card you'd want the most, maybe a little ranking at the end here. The last card we've got here, Ravana Renslayer. It's another ongoing. Your cards with 1 or less power cost 1 less. It throws in the minimum 1, so you're not going to get any free cards here. We looked at Marvel Snap Zone's little ranking here, and we basically sorted it. So basically anything that is cheaper than 1. I mean, what are your thoughts on this card, and what sort of decks do you think you're going to throw it in?
There's so many different decks, and my take on that card is any type of power reduction makes an archetype, makes a deck, whether that is Sarah or Zabu or Mr. Negative or whatever, right? Like, it makes a difference. And this will get made, and I don't know what it will be exactly, but if you're looking at this list here, there are so many top tier cards on this list, whether it is Bishop or Black Widow and Darkhawk. I mean, you almost like have it make itself, you know, between all of these incredible cards, whether the Dracula or Iron Man. Yes. I think that there could be a deck completely built around this, and it will, you know, anytime that you can play 2 cards or 3 cards on turn 6 that you normally couldn't, whether that is 2 4-drops on turn 6 or 3 3-drops. You know what I'm talking about? 3 3-drops, right? Like, Sarah allows you to play 3 3-drops. It's going to be a good thing.
I agree. Now I am interested, you know, because I think about bounce a little bit with this card, because if we're looking at Angela and Hitmonkey, I wonder if it actually thinks about its original cost, or say if you bast one of those cards. So say you bast Angela, I think it wouldn't work. I mean, it's not necessarily intuitive, but what would your gut reaction tell you if you bast a card like Hitmonkey or Angela? Do you think it's going to get the cost reduction?
I don't, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, okay.
Because I mean, I suspect that this card looks at the modified power that's in hand, but several of these cards, like 3 out of the 4 cards, I actually am not sure how they're going to work.
That's fair.
It's Like, I don't know how Loki's going to work. I don't know how Mobius is going to work with Wave. I have an idea.
Yeah.
Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Same thing with Ravonna. How is that going to work with Bast? I don't know. Like, and this game since the start has had inconsistent interactions almost always, and I think the biggest disaster is being shown right now with Jean Grey. It's just like, who knows how that card works.
Yeah, true. So
It's a complete disaster.
It is very interesting. Just throw Goose with Jean Grey, you're good to go. So
and then customer support thinks it works, but that's probably not right too. It's so wild.
Yep.
It's so wild,
it is
right?
pretty bonkers. So of these three cards, I don't know if you rank them from best, and I left out Loki because I think we both agree it's probably the weakest of the four. But how would you rank the other three as far as best to worst? And I don't even call them worst, but maybe your top favorite to your third favorite.
Yeah, I'm the most interested in Aelith, or however you say that guy's name, for sure. Alioth, yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, yeah, no, they're all good. So those are the new cards coming in the season pass. Obviously, we've got the August season pass just before that. It's going to be a tough 2 months as far as your spotlight caches and or your tokens, because the economy's obviously changed. We're going to get to some bundles in a second that are coming up in this month, and I want to get your opinions on those. So make sure you're planning ahead for August and September as far as what sort of archetypes you like, because it's going to be hard to save enough caches up. They got a bunch of new variants. We're not going to spend a bunch of time on these. They're very cool if you're into the variant type of thing. A lot of Dan Hips, some new Galactus stuff, Lady Death Strikes for, I forget her name, it's Ryan, I think, but a lot of solid variants here. This Spectrum one almost looks real, but I mentioned bundles. So I'm going to look at these bundles with you. The first one is Days of Summer Past. They don't have a cost to it. They've got two variants, one with Coulson, one with White Queen. I think easy cards to get, so I don't think anybody's going to necessarily be buying that. It's got a 3,000 gold in it and 600 credits. So any thought on what you think you'd be willing to pay for something like that? Or
yeah, okay, so like if it's gonna come down to the cost, right? But like I've seen these packages before where the cost of the gold and the credits is better than just straight up buying the gold. So what does 3,000 gold cost? You know, $40, $40. So
that sounds right.
So you can, for $34 is 2,600 gold.
Yeah, so I mean, what do you think? A $30 price offer on this? Is that, you think that's where it's gonna land?
I think this is a good deal at $30 US, and it may also be a reasonable value at $40 US. I think where this may not be, or it might be depending on whether or not you care about the variants and things like that, because you know, if this is a $50 US, which I suspect it might be, but yeah, if it's you know, basically right now for $35 US you can get 2,600 gold. So if this is cheaper than $40 US, then you're getting some value.
I agree. All right, the next one we've got, it's called Beach Bums. It's 2,800 gold. So, and that's, you know, that $35-ish, $38 price point. Get three variants, Leech, Scorpion, and Sandman. 3,600 credits is really what you're looking at here. So 2,800 gold for 3,600 credits. Is that something you think you'd pull the trigger on?
Okay, so if the ratio in game where you can spend 400 gold to get 500 credits, right? And so this looks like it's a similar ratio, but you get a lot of other things. Again, this is going to come down to whether or not you value the variants and the cosmetics in there. And for me, I don't think this is what I'm going to consider. Mostly for me, offers that I'm going to consider are ones that have collector tokens.
Yeah, I would agree. This, I mean, without doing any math on this looks like a pass to me. Next one seems pretty similar. 2,800 gold again and 3,600 credits again, just different variants. I mean, same story.
Yeah, exact same story for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so the next one they've got after that is Aspect of Heimdall. Now we've got some collector tokens for you. This is a cash offer, 4,000 collector tokens, 4,800 credits, and then the cosmetics. What are you thinking as far as a price point on this one?
All right, so for collector tokens on the high price, like if you want to say max price that I'll spend, like I've seen them try selling them for, is like 6,000 collector tokens for $100 US, right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, that's on the high side, right? So for me, you know, this being 4,000 collector tokens, I think that this becomes, and then you're getting 4,800 credits. if it's under 50 US dollars, people might be considering this.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I was thinking that this is going to be somewhere in the 50-ish dollar. Anything under, it seems like it's likely a must buy. Over, your whales will pick it up, but I'm not sure about anybody else. All right, so the next one we've got Emergency Pirate Outfit. This doesn't have a cost to it. 1,600 gold, 900 credits, a kitty variant. We talked about what the cost would be in game. 1,600 gold, a little bit more than 20 US dollars. So I'm guessing a 15 to 20 US dollar. What are your thoughts on that?
There are people that paused playing the game at the time that everybody got kitty for free, and they have come back to the game. And I think this is, if you don't have kitty, run, don't walk, and pick this up.
I would agree. I would absolutely. And I am fully expecting this to be about 50. Well, you know what? With kitty, maybe it's $20. We'll see. I mean, maybe even at $30, this is pretty decent value given kitty's in there.
Kitty is one of the better cards right now, especially in bounce. But I am seeing decks get created with just Kitty and Angela getting thrown into random decks because the synergy is so strong.
I could see it. The next one's a 1,600 gold cost. Avasti Admiral. It's a mystery variant. 1,000 collector tokens and 600 credits. 1,600 gold is, again, around 24-ish US dollars. What are you thinking here? You get 1,000 tokens, 600 credits?
Well, Token Tuesdays, which is not as good. Yeah, 1,400 for 1,000. So, and that is a decrease in value from Token Tuesdays of the past, right? Yep. Remember, didn't they used to run like 850 for 800 or something, or like 650 for 600, or if it was, you could almost get as many collector tokens for just a little bit more gold. Like the ratio was like 1 to 1.1, let's say. Yeah. And they really kind of messed with us a little bit, going from the 1,000 to 1,400 gold. So this is 200 more gold than the current Token Tuesdays. So what do you value a pixel variant? It's 6,000 credits now. Because you're going to get a pixel variant.
True. Yeah, so this one's interesting. I think I might drop gold to get that one just for the collector tokens. The next one, they actually have a US dollar cash cost here for 10 US dollars, but it's all cosmetics. Nick Fury, Agent 13, Iron Man, boosters, avatars. You spend any money on this thing?
I don't go out of my way to pick up cosmetics.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same way. Even if I like cosmetics, I typically try to make sure to spend my cash on gold or offers that I know I'm going to really like.
I'm not trying to say that cosmetics have no value, because they do. But I appreciate cosmetics when I don't pay for them.
Yeah. I mean, and if the game was a purely cosmetic monetization model and you don't have to stress about tokens and credits and all that sort of thing, I would be much more willing to spend on this just to simply support the game and play it, but it's not that case. So for me personally, I don't do it, but if you love this cosmetics, pull the trigger. The next one is probably the most interesting of the bunch. It costs 7,500 gold, which is almost 100 US dollars. You get two pretty huge variants. And I don't mean that in pretty cool looking, but a Darkhawk's in here. Yeah. And the other one, Master Mold, maybe not a great card, but it's a card I don't think a lot of people have. And you get 7,200 credits.
Yeah, see, this depends. See, that's 74 days away, right? And it would be a crime if Darkhawk is not dropped to Series 3 by then. My goodness, right? I mean, that card came out in December of last year. So the valuation on this largely depends on what they do with Master Mold and Darkhawk. And Master Mold actually has seen some play of recent, mostly because of the popularity of Bounce, and Master Mold can interfere with that.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, do you think they're going to start dropping cards again? Because I have to admit, with this new system,
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I mean, my personal thought is they're going to do it a lot less. So I could very much see these cards staying in that Series 4 for a while, and an offer like this, if they're going to stay there, this might be for somebody. I have to admit, I don't have Darkhawk, believe it or not. I still don't have Darkhawk. And for the 7,200 credits on top of this, I might end up pulling the trigger. Now, I want tokens, but I get a lot of credits there to potentially build up those spotlight caches a little bit too. And I get a card I potentially don't have. That's why I might be looking at this one, but we'll see. All right, so the next one they've got here, Festival of Unity, doesn't have a cost to it. 900 credits, a Wong variant. I can't imagine this is, with $5 US.
I mean, like $5, why not, right? I don't know, but it's hard to say. I mean, I think they're going to try to sell this for $10 though. So,
gosh, that'd be a shame. I hope they do 5. So then they got some new locations. Players can't retreat after turn 5. Mount Vesuvius. Interesting, right?
I actually kind of like that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I mean, so that means you can retreat on turn 5, but you can't retreat on turn 6.
That's right. So
Okay.
once if you think you've got the win and you snap before then, the game's playing. So I dig that. Valley of the Hand, after turn 5, your destroyed cards revive here. What do you think about that one? I think that's pretty interesting.
Boy, that seems like a hot location nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. And then the last one they've got here is Yoshida Base. At the end of the game, destroy the last card to get here. So fill up that location right away, I guess.
All right. So is that determined by priority? Is it for each player? I'm not sure how that works.
I think that's fair. My guess is it's determined by priority. So if your opponent has priority and you're losing that location, you're toast. So it plays with that priority game, which I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that penalizes, big plays and the zoo spam bounce type decks, Sarah control type decks that play a lot of cards at the last turn probably won't care about that too much.
Yeah, I agree. And then they've got some Loki card backs. So
Cool.
overall, how hyped are you for this September season and everything that's sort of coming to the game then?
These cards that are coming to the game look really good.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else to share?
That'll do it.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys making it this far. If you want to help support the channel, hammer down that like button. Go check out Mobile's channel. Until next time, hope you have a wonderful day.